Hey guys, it's Collin with Kriegsspiel, the war card game. Today I wanted to bring you the British Archetype so I can go over the British Archetype, the troops in it, the tactics, and the point of the deck. So, starting right off here, you'll notice if you've already watched my American Archetype video, which I'll put in the description, you'll notice it's a little bit different. The Americans have more lower spawn-in Archetype units and less higher tier. I think I even alluded to that. The British have more higher risk units to put in the game. So, starting out here, you'll notice that I have British have a lot of one initiative units like the Americans to match. They'd have a lot of loyalist regiments in the Revolution. However, a lot of these lower tier units are just outmatched by the American militias. The Royal Greens, the 9th East Norfolk, the Queen's Rangers, the 60th Royal American Regiment. Most of those regiments are all outmatched by the American regiments that counter them. Next, you'll notice that you have some mid-range, the Oxfordshire, the Wiltshire, and the 17th Light Dragoons. Then you have your true mids, so your 5s. That's your Tarleton's Raiders, which are the 1st Cavalry or the 2nd Cavalry unit, the Royal Scots Fusilier, and the Regiment von Rahl, which is a Hessian regiment. And lastly here, you have your mid to late game to your guards. So you have your Royal Scots Greys, your 16th Lancers, East Kent Regiment, the 28th Regiment of Foot, the Black Watch, and then you have the 1st Foot Guards, the Scots Guards, and the Royal Artillery. I'll talk about the 1st Foot Guards in a minute. So going back to the beginning, the British units do not have as much power in the early tier. Later on, though, they outmatch the American counterpart. You'll notice that the 62nd Wiltshire and the 52nd Oxfordshire have the same statistics. Both of those are stronger in health and in combat than their American comparables. Next, you have the 17th Light Dragoons, which compared to the American unit corresponding with it, is not even close. Going down, you do have a 2nd regiment, the Tarleton's Raiders, which are matched by the American comparable, the Royal Scots Fusilier, and the Regiment von Rahl. The British units tend to have high health. Next, you have the Royal Scots Greys and the 16th Lancers, 2 of the British cavalry units, which are both very strong in damage output. Then you have, without sacrificing too much health, by the way, it's like the Royal Scots Greys do have a very strong health compared to American cavalry. And then the East Kent Regiment, the Black Watch, and the 28th Regiment of Foot. It should be noted the Black Watch and the East Kent Regiment both could qualify as guards, but don't. They have extremely high health. Then we have the Scots Guards, which are equivalent to Washington's Guard, but a little bit better. And lastly, you notice the 1st Foot Guards. Because they have such a strong combat ability, the 1st Foot Guards actually feature a bolded, and it's the first time you'll see this. The Kickstarter special card will also have this. Feature a bolded number 11. That number 11 is that's your initiative upkeep. So compared to the average, it's higher than what the standard top should be. So there's 11 initiative costs to spawn in the 1st Foot Guards, but they have 19 health and 8 combat value. And then you'll see the Royal Artillery, which is better than the American counterpart. With the British also, you have 5 tactics cards that belong to the archetype. Now, speaking of archetypes, of course, there's 2 different variations of it. You have the archetype with the commander and the tactics, then you have the British unit archetype. So they are 2 different ones. We already talked about the British commanders in my commander video, but to get into British archetypes for the tactics cards. So firstly, you have the Fencibles. So attached to a active unit during the first card phase, if the unit on the field is set to lose based on combat power, you can search and look for an equal CP unit, any unit, not necessarily infantry, and discard the previous unit. What that means is you can look for a unit with a higher combat value. To give an example of when this would work, the East Kent Regiment has the same initiative cost as the 16th Lancers. You could swap those out and get a higher cost, or a same cost, higher combat unit onto the field by searching your deck. So it is a deck search card. Next, you have fixed bayonets. This is useful for routing American militia units. So during the first card phase, attach to your active infantry unit. If your enemy has 3 combat power or under, so any American militia unit, and you win combat against your enemy that turn, the enemy unit routes. This is affected by combat modifiers. So if you had an intimidating composition card, which reduces enemy CP, in theory you could rout an enemy with 4 initiative that goes down to 3. And it routes them from the field, so it just pulls the enemy off the field. This is almost as good as the overwhelming force card, but a little bit more reserved. Third, you have probably the best British card, Nation of Shoekeepers. Up to 5 initiative you can double. It's a free card to play, and just revolves around Britain's ability to generate funds for the war effort. Fourthly here, you have the Royal Navy. The Royal Navy allows you to gain 3 CP to 1 card for 3 turns. You attach that to that card and then get rid of it. The Royal Navy is a very good card. It's British. It's the Britain's best combat card. Lastly, for the British Archetype's tactics, you have the Thin Red Line. You attach to an active unit during the first card phase, and if the unit, when attached, should rout, it will stop at 1 HP. So if you have a guard unit that you really want to keep in the game, and you have another available card, for example, there are cards that gain 1 health for every 10 turns, and you know you can turn it around, this is a great card to play with it to make sure that unit does not rout. This only works 1 time. So you can leave this on the card until it routs, and then you discard after it was supposed to be rout. So again, as the American units, you can go and pause and read over these cards if you're able to. Again, it is JPEG, and I have enlarged these cards. And these cards, just in case you haven't seen my last one, are PNG for the card game, but I have to switch to JPEG for limitations of Tabletop Simulator. And of course, lastly here, just kind of the commanders. Wellington definitely is the best commander on the deck. In both decks, he does give -1 to initiative, which means the British do have some really nice free play cards, 2 of them actually. But guys, this is Collin with Kriegsspiel, the War card game. I've gone over the British archetype and the American archetype now. Soon I'll be going into battle examples, rule examples, and other variations of examples I can give you, including using tactics in battle to show you how to best utilize your decks when you receive the game. Again, if you want to support us on Kickstarter, you can feel free. Kickstarter link will be in the description. I'd be more than happy to see you on the field of battle, and I look forward to seeing your name in my backers list. We are over 22% funded going into 4 days on my Kickstarter, so we definitely are ahead of schedule. But the more money that is raised through Kickstarter, the more cards and more decks I'm able to get, lower costs able to be, quicker I'm able to get other decks out, and the quicker I'm able to get expansion booster packs out, which do require 20,000 orders, so I need to make sure that I have the money to go ahead and get that forward. I look forward to seeing you guys out there. Look forward to seeing your name on the Kickstarter list. See you soon. Thank you.